We will always love you. The world reacts to the death of music icon, philanthropist, songwriter and superstar Dolly Parton. The singer who touched lives around the globe is being remembered and mourned by fellow stars and her legions of ordinary fans.
I grew up on Dolly. My mom blared Dolly every Saturday morning while we did our chores.
She just meant so much. Like, she was just so great for everyone around us, and it's so sad that she's gone.
Also this lunchtime, flash floods on the Nepal-Tibet border leave many hundreds missing, including British tourists. Energy bills to hit a 3-year high as UK households feel the effects of the Iran war. And Harry and Meghan arrive back on UK soil.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Romilly Weeks.
Good afternoon. In America, flags are being flown at half-mast for a week in her memory. But the impact of Dolly Parton's death is being felt far beyond its shores. Here, the Prime Minister said she would be remembered forever, while stars from Paul McCartney to her goddaughter Miley Cyrus lauded her musical talent, her grace and her heart. Taylor Swift said her legacy will be an everlasting one because of the eternally generous way she spent her time on this earth and the countless lives she changed for the better. Crowds of fans gathering in Nashville and Los Angeles are expressing their grief and their gratitude. Rosie Dowsing looks back at the legacy of a true musical icon.
As the queen of country music, Nashville was her kingdom. The city spent the night celebrating Dolly Parton's legacy.
Very much an icon, especially for those of us that grew up in the area, to see somebody rise from such poverty and be a role model for everyone.
I grew up on Dolly. My mom blared Dolly every Saturday morning while we did our chores. She'll be missed.
Gosh, she just meant so much. Like, she was just so great for everyone around us, and it's so sad that she's gone.
Please, please, please. She collaborated with and inspired artists of all generations, with so many now paying tribute. Sabrina Carpenter said, "I will keep your wisdom, your playful outlook on life and perfect sense of humour in my pocket for the rainy days." Taylor Swift said, "A world without Dolly doesn't feel possible, real or right. Her legacy will be an everlasting one." Elton John called her a giant of an artist, unique and irreplaceable, with the kindest heart.
I just wanted you to let me.
Meanwhile, goddaughter Miley Cyrus said, "Rest in glory, Dolly, my heart aches." The kindness and generosity spread through her charitable work was an integral part of Dolly Parton's legacy.
I was a huge fan of what Dolly did around literacy around the world. I was culture secretary when her libraries were first coming through, and the books that went into communities across Britain. You know, what a legacy to leave.
You've also been such an advocate for the LGBTQ+ community like myself.
And those who met the global icon cherish how she made them feel.
For who they are and for who they are to me.
The very first interview I did with her, and she was touching up her makeup in the mirror, and she looked over at me and she went, "You need a little bit of powder." And she powdered my nose.
How do you think the country music world will be without Dolly Parton in it?
Country music will mourn Dolly. They will also celebrate Dolly. And the impact that Dolly has had is not just on country music. She's had impact on global scale and on a human scale.
In her home country, flags are flying at half-mast. In her hometown, flowers are flooding in. And around the world, many are singing along to her music, which is the gift she leaves behind.
Thank you.
And Debbie Edward was in the home of country music, Nashville in Tennessee last night, and sent this report.
What better tribute to Dolly Parton than hearing the bars and cafes here on Broadway Strip in Nashville filled with the sound of her music. Many performers here tonight opening their acts with her songs. This is where it all started for Dolly Parton, and this is where she spent her final days. We are told working right up to the end, even while battling cancer. One woman we spoke to was brought to tears talking about what her music meant to her and the example she set as a hard-working woman, a true rags-to-riches story. Everyone we've spoken to has mentioned the millions that she has given to local causes, her philanthropy. Legend almost seems too small a word for the impact she had and will continue to have here for generations. Through her music, yes, but even more so for what people have said was her big heart that went with her big personality.
Hundreds of people are missing after an avalanche of ice and rock triggered massive flash floods on the Nepal-Tibet border. At least 8 people are confirmed to have died, but there are fears the number will rise in the coming hours. And Ness Jenkins is here to tell us more. Ness, the pictures coming out of the region are truly shocking, aren't they?
Yes, and as more and more footage gets to us, the true extent of what has happened here really can be seen. We know that at least 8 people have now been killed, and as you mentioned, that number sadly is expected to rise. Officials say that 384 travellers are reported missing, including 291 foreign nationals from countries such as the United States, India and Malaysia, some confirmed also from the UK British nationals. And as you mentioned, the scenes coming out of Nepal today are truly devastating. The floods have destroyed homes, roads and bridges, with major damage also reported to hydropower infrastructure. It hit early today on the Nepal-Tibet border, just north of Nepal's capital, and its foreign minister has said that it looks like it was caused by an earthquake triggering an avalanche of ice and rock. The government in Nepal has asked India and China for help with the rescue operation in an effort to try and find locals and tourists that are still missing, but damaged roads and communication are making it extremely difficult for that. So it's a race against time in an incredibly challenging environment.
Right. Ness, thank you for that update. At least 14 babies have died after a fire broke out at a hospital nursery in Pakistan. The Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences in Islamabad housed at least 15 newborns in the nursery when the fire started. Hospital officials said just 1 baby was successfully rescued. Aisha Zahid reports.
Outside this hospital in Islamabad, parents are grieving. A fire broke out in a nursery for newborns in the maternity unit here. Officials have said 15 babies were inside at the time. 14 have been confirmed dead. Sami had given birth just 3 days earlier. Her baby was receiving intensive care when the fire began.
I have a 3-day-old son. How can they say that all the children were burned when none of the staff were burned? They say we have to save the adults first. We saved them. Why were they saving adults? They could have gone out on foot. Why didn't they save the children first? Why was the children's ward locked?
The Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences is Islamabad's largest public hospital. Authorities say the fire started from an air conditioning unit but quickly accelerated in the ward.
When this explosion happened, the oxygen cylinders exploded and the fire spread along the oxygen lines, and it happened in seconds. It did not take much time, and from what I know, the fire brigade arrived here very quick, within 5 to 10 minutes.
Emergency services are at the scene as investigations continue to piece together what went so wrong. The families here want accountability and they want answers as they grieve for the children they never got to bring home. Aisha Zahid, ITV News.
Some breaking news this lunchtime. ITV News understands that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have arrived back in the UK with their children from California. And Layla Hayes is here. Layla, this news just reaching us. What more can you tell us?
Yes, we have just had confirmation on this, and what we've been told is that Prince Harry, Meghan and their children, Archie and Lilibet, have now arrived back in Britain. Now, we understand that they arrived around midday at Birmingham Airport. We're told they had no police protection and that they left the airport without an escort. Of course, last week it was reported that the couple would be returning to the UK in August. It's understood that the children have been enrolled in new schools and the new term is set to start next week. It's thought the family will base themselves at a private property in the Cotswolds, which may explain them coming back into Birmingham Airport. They will not, of course, return to official duties, but will live in Britain as non-working royals. And of course, this is the first time the couple have lived here since they stepped back from those royal duties in 2020 and left for California. Security, of course, for the family has been a big issue, but now confirmation they are back in the UK. It is still not clear what provisions will be made for their security while they are here and who will pay for it.
It's all happened rather fast. Layla, thank you. Typical energy bills for millions of households in England, Scotland and Wales will hit a 3-year high under the new price cap announced by the regulator Ofgem. Bills for those not on fixed tariffs will rise by 3.6% in October until December. That's around an extra £60 for a typical household. Our consumer editor Chris Choi has more.
With every click, energy and money flows. Millions hoping things would get easier, today learned there's worse to come. And for this customer, the increases are a dismal prospect.
It's just really nervous as to where we're going to end up because everything is just spiralling out of control. You know, your energy prices going up in October and then again in January, and it's just when's it going to start?
Typical dual fuel bills go up £60 a year from October, taking the average from £1,663 to a 3-year high of £1,723. And that rise outweighs the average £45 cut in VAT on electricity, which also starts in October.
If you are behind on your bills or if you're worried you can't afford them, then energy suppliers do have to help you. There's support available, speak to them and they can set up an affordable repayment plan so that you can get back on track.
Though the announcement came this morning, the scene was set months ago. Conflict in Iran has pushed gas prices up 61%.
I suppose amid all this international trouble, people can feel fairly helpless. Is there much they can do about these prices?
Yeah, so as things stand, we're seeing 17 fixed deals which actually beat this October price cap.
The price cap affects 22 million households, but customers can escape the rise by shifting to a fixed-rate deal.
The cheapest fixed tariff we're seeing at the moment is actually offering savings of £173 against the October price cap.
Have you heard of the Warm Home Discount Scheme?
This discount pays £150 to people struggling with bills, but today this energy boss said help could be increased up to £400.
Do we need emergency help this winter? A lot of people will be terrified at the prospect of paying for fuel over the winter.
For the people who need it most, we should be able to do better targeting than we do today. It means that, you know, instead of the level of the home discount as it is now, you'd be able to pay, you know, some people maybe £400 support.
But the grim winter outlook for customers is 2 energy price rises, with one of 9% predicted for January on top of October's increase announced today. Chris Choi, ITV News.
And to see if you can save money on your energy bill, you can visit our website itv.com/news. Still ahead, free childcare in Wales. How close is the Welsh Government to delivering its flagship election promise? First, scientists have pinpointed a window of opportunity for women to start taking hormone replacement therapy for the menopause, which may also help reduce their risk of dementia in later life. The study analysed data on more than 183,000 postmenopausal women in the UK. During the 13-year follow-up, almost 4,000 were diagnosed with dementia. But those who took HRT had a 10% reduced risk of all dementia and a 16% reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease specifically. And the research team found that starting treatment between the ages of 46 and 56 conferred the greatest benefit? Well, I am joined now by the study lead, Professor Anne-Marie Minihane from the Norwich Institute of Healthy Ageing. Professor Minihane, this does sound really significant, and I suppose the first thing to say is that it was a really big study involving over 180,000 women. Are you excited by what you found in terms of HRT's effect on dementia?
Yeah, we are quite excited. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty around the association or the effect of HRT on cognition in older age and dementia. And we're hoping that this new study and this new evidence which we produced will add just a bit of granularity and certainty to the data that's available so far. And what we're seeing actually is that for certain groups of women, the association between HRT use and dementia risk in later life seems to be stronger than in other groups. For example, in women who have had surgical menopause, so who have had an early menopause due to bilateral oophorectomy and hysterectomy, women who had a shorter lifetime exposure to estrogen, so either earlier menarche or later menarche and early menopause, so a short lifetime exposure to estrogen, this group are particularly responsive, and also ApoE4 carriers, which is the main genetic risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And as you mentioned, it seems to be that initiating HRT between the ages of 46 to 56 is most beneficial.
And why is it that specific age group?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It seems to be, and it seems to be showing through for things like cardiovascular disease as well. And it seems to be if there's a short gap between women's natural decline in estrogen and when you start HRT, that's when the benefits are most evident. And kind of biologically that makes sense because our cells still have things like fully functional estrogen receptors and kind of the self-signaling pathways that are able to kind of metabolize estrogen, which is needed to result in benefit.
And how does the science behind this work? Does this mean that HRT is having an effect on the brain?
Yeah, I mean, we've known for quite a long time that for areas in the brain important for cognition, like the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus and the entorhinal cortex, they're really enriched in estrogen receptors. And estrogen is really important in how the brain uses glucose. It's really important for blood flow to the brain, control of inflammation, etc. So, you know, it's really biologically plausible that when estrogen drops off and you suddenly give HRT that it should be associated with benefit. But as I say, the evidence so far has been quite mixed, and we hope our research will add a bit of clarity to that uncertainty.
There are other associated benefits of HRT, aren't there, on osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease. But are there still women for whom the risks outweigh the benefits?
There are certainly. So the choice to take HRT is a very personal one and should always come down to the wishes of the woman, you know, her health status and a conversation with the clinician. So for certain groups of women, for example, if you're prone to stroke, if you're prone to blood clots, or if you've had estrogen-responsive cancers or you're at risk of estrogen-responsive cancers, then HRT may not be for you, even though certain forms of HRT may be okay. So the choice will come down to your personal choice and the conversation with your clinician.
Important information. Professor Minihane, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
The Welsh Government is still working out how many extra childcare workers it will need to deliver one of Plaid Cymru's flagship election promises 100 days after taking power. They pledged to give every child in Wales aged between 9 months and 4 years 20 hours of government-funded childcare a week. But documents obtained by ITV News reveal ministers were warned within days of taking office that workforce capacity was a critical constraint. Well, our Wales reporter Rhys Williams is outside the Senate this lunchtime. Rhys, what more can you tell us about this?
Well, as you say, this was a flagship policy. It's one of the big promises that got Plaid Cymru here, and it proved extremely popular with the electorate. It had a lot of cut-through and led to that historic breakthrough in May when Plaid ousted Labour, who dominated politics here in Wales for more than a century, leading to those jubilant scenes outside the Senedd. And in places like Swansea, where the party made historic gains for the very first time, we spoke with parents and met them who told us that they voted Plaid specifically because of that childcare offer.
I did vote for Plaid Cymru. It was a massive deal, especially comparing it to England and how they've already got childcare from 9 months. It would make a huge difference for me, huge difference.
I think, you know, once you make a commitment and you say something as part of your manifesto, it's a priority, it should be delivered.
Now, the new Plaid government insists that it will deliver this flagship policy by the end of the 4-year Senedd term, but the documents we've obtained reveal the scale of that challenge. Last year, 121 childminders left the profession in Wales and only 60 joined. Officials warned the new government that the lack of workforce was a critical constraint and threatening the policy. And in Cardiff, only 3 out of 33 nurseries came forward during an existing scheme offering just 12.5 hours of childcare to 2-year-olds. So if the new government's policy is much more generous and ambitious than that, I asked the Minister how many extra workers they needed.
What we've been doing is we've got an expert group now advising on the childcare rollout, and we're working with childcare providers. We're working
so you still don't know?
We're working with colleges to ensure that we've got enough workforce.
Can you answer my question? How many extra workers will you need?
We're working on it now with the expert group and with colleges and with providers.
Now, the government says it doesn't want sticking plasters here and wants to build a foundation for a more prosperous Wales. But as you heard, voters are increasingly impatient.
Rhys, thank you very much for that. And just before we go, from British royalty to country music royalty, Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 has sounded out at Buckingham Palace as the changing of the guard ceremony paid tribute to the Queen of country music. The footage was shared on social media along with the message remembering the late, great Dolly, who brought joy, comfort and inspiration to so many, including the millions of children given free books through her imagination library. We will always love you. And that's all from us for now. Mary is here with the evening news at 6:30. The news where you are is next from everyone on the Lunchtime team. Have a lovely afternoon. Goodbye.
Today will be lovely to start with before quickly spreading to all parts later. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello there. So a warm, muggy afternoon for many with the risk of further showers in places. Now you can see in the satellite and radar from earlier, we've already had quite a few showers out there. They will continue to develop as we move through the afternoon. We do have a Met Office weather warning in force across parts of England and Wales. Some of these showers heavy, thundery with some hail mixed in there too, but there will be some sunshine in between. And as I say, it's a warm, humid afternoon. Highs there across the south up to around 28 degrees, 22 there in the north. Now as we go through this evening and tonight, further thundery downpours for a time, and eventually they will fade away. So it will become dry, quite a lot of mist and murk out there tonight before the next plume of showers works its way into southern counties, and that's going to bring a messy Thursday for many. So there will be showers around, some of these heavy and thundery with some fairly big hail in the mix too. And again, another warm day, this time top temperature up to around 27 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.